contribution to society. But the church then observed that children of the poor were not given such opportunities, and therefore started seeing how they can educate the children of the poor, develop their talent, and have them make contribution back to the church as a primary community, and then to the wider community. So, but what then happens is that the government saw that the schools were run very well and successfully by voluntary agency and by the church, and wanted to have a bite of the cake, and wanted to see how they can help develop government policies that were secular, quote-unquote, neutral, applied to every faith and every denomination, and then took over quite a few schools, built in schools, but then came out with a series of policies that were contradictory to the basic tenets of the church and the voluntary organizations. Like the requirement for the head teacher and the teachers to subscribe to the tenets of the faith was then abolished in state school. You didn't have to belong to any faith. If you had the academic qualification to be a teacher, then you could be a teacher, then you could be a head of department, and then you could be a head teacher. But for faith schools, it was required of those that wanted to work for faith school to subscribe to the basic beliefs of the faith. And so the selection criteria was not just academic, it was both academic as well as faith-based. And
the original status that the schools had is actually what Michael Gove is trying to give back to the schools.
Yes, as much as possible. That's why I salute his attempt. As much as possible, he's trying to see how we can go back, because he's seen very clearly that the academic performance of faith school completely dwarfs non-faith school. He's seen that league table after league table, every single performance indicator have shown in terms of character building, in terms of morals, in terms of even academic performance. It's been shown year in, year out that if you are from a faith school, you are more likely going to end up with the 5 A to 6 GCSEs. You are more likely going to end up in HE University. You're more likely going to end up doing things, making contribution to society. So Michael Gove is only just responding to the product of faith-based school and wanting everybody to participate and share in the benefits of it, rather than an ideological stand. It's not ideological, it's just being pragmatic, and he wants to share of the success and the benefit of it. But the question is going to be, are they going to allow the faith school the free hand to do whatever they want to do, discipline whoever they want to discipline, and institute new rules that are in sync with their faith and their conviction.
And with the tenets of the charity of the church.
Now
let's go back to summer schools. A lot of people have wondered, even parents, university summer schools, is it actually necessary? And what type of summer school should they actually send their children to?
It's very, especially if you have a child that is in year 9. At the end of year 9, you are made to cherry pick. Pick one subject, reject the other subject, and take the new subject. If you are going to choose a subject or reject a subject, you've got to know the implications of what you're doing. Because if at the end of year 9, for instance, you reject Latin, you're no longer do Latin, then your linguistic development is going to be severely impacted. The way you're going to write your English paper is going to be totally different from those that study Latin. So if you're going to reject a subject or accept a subject, it will be useful for you to visit the university, look at the courses they are having, because there are some going to be taster courses.
Taster courses.
Yeah, taster courses. You will not be able to tell, essentially, the implications of rejecting or accepting one subject until you go to the university and see the admissions requirements, and see that the course you were really trying to reject has a lot of bearing on the profession or the career options we are considering. So it's useful for year 9s to go, and year 10s is quite helpful as well, because it helps raise the aspiration. You want to say, oh, now I'm in year 10, I've got my GCSE in front of me, I need to be able to be focused. And which subject should I do better in than others? Which subjects do they require at the unit for pharmacy? If pharmacy was a choice, for law, what should I do if I wanted to read engineering? So that will refocus the students and make sure that their GCSEs are not just seen as another exam, but a stepping stone to a university career that they've always desired or wanted to pursue.
Let's look at the exam week, which is now going on. What should year 11s, 10, 12, and 13s, what should they be doing?
We send our best wishes to you, because this is the hottest year of the hottest week of the year. I mean, not just in terms of temperature, but in terms of the amount of work they're doing. Some students wrote about 3 papers yesterday, and the day before wrote about 2 papers. Today they're writing 3 papers. So it's very, very congested. So what you need to do is focus on the paper ahead of you, 1 paper at a time. Don't think of the paper you've already done. If you've already written a paper on Monday, whether it was good or bad, this is not the time for you to brood over it. Just forget about the past. Pick up the next set of bunch of past papers. Work through past papers in the next paper you're going to do, and see whether a third party, if it's your friend, fine, or your parent, can mark the paper for you and then give it back to you so you can see your area of strength and weakness.
How can parents actually help their pupils during this exam period? Because this is actually one of the hottest weeks for exams.
You mustn't give them any additional roles or responsibilities at home. That's one. It might sound very, very logical thing, but some parents still expect the students to do some work at home. As far as I'm concerned, the issue of freedom of all domestic activities. 1, 2, do as much as you can in terms of practical support. I'll pack their lunch, get things done for them. 3, get a copy of their statement of entry. Make a photocopy of it as a parent. Keep a personal copy. Put it on the fridge so that when your daughter or son is writing an exam, you know exactly whether it's going to be in the morning or in the afternoon. Because statistics has revealed to us that 10% of the students will miss the timing of their exam, thinking that it's going to be in the afternoon instead of being in the morning.
Why?
Because they have other things on their mind. They are focused on their geography, or focused on the maths, or focused on the literature. So that broad aspect of trying to find out when the exam timetable is something secondary to them. And what is more, the schools have released some of our year 11s to go home on study leave. It means that they are not all, they've broken away from the school routine. They don't have to wake up first thing in the morning as they used to do, and they make sure to get to school that day. They are allowed to stay at home if they don't have any paper. The consequence of that is that you might be sleeping at home thinking that you have your paper in the afternoon. Meanwhile, they've already written in the morning. So if you're a parent and you have a copy of the statement of entry and you've highlighted it, so you can send them a text message. If you're not physically at home, you're in the office, phone them, how are you getting ready for your paper? And I know your paper is in about half an hour, all the best. Just phoning them will then remind, oh, I didn't even know it was in the morning. Or phoning them after the paper to reassure them, to encourage them. If they've had a rough paper, they've had a very difficult paper, somebody ought to be there to say something positive, something encouraging, something say, yes, it can be done, it's going to be better. Such little things encourages everyone, especially in this time or period of stress.
Very interesting. Our parents, if you want to know really how to help your children best during the exam period, you can send emails to brunch@loveworldtv.co.uk. Let's look at post-11 plus activities and optional SATs. Now, how should the parents cope with this?
If we are post-11 plus, especially those that have gotten their place, this is time for you to ask your child, what does your child like best? If he likes football, get him all the reviews about the World Cup. Let them look at it country by country. Let them review which team is going to play what. You know what? The World Cup is a huge educational opportunity, because the students are going to now find out which country is in which continent, because we're going to count how many teams came from one continent. You're then going to find out their location, geographical location. You're going to find out a little bit about their history, both of football and politics. So it's a wonderful thing for you to engage them, because they've already passed their exam, they've already written their exam, it's all gone. They can play, and through playing, know about things like the countries. And then finally, about summer sports, let them participate in a team sport. Team sport is all very good, because it builds a lot of their team dynamics, because they're going to need that in September when they start secondary school. It's a quite useful thing for them to look at and work through. As far as the optional side is concerned, it's watered down, it's deemed as irrelevant, but it's quite useful. It's a useful thing you can note in the child's development. You can look at the record of achievement when the child is living in primary school and say, oh, yes, in year 4 you did this, in year 5 you did that. Because it's optional, it shouldn't really be seen as optional. It's
so should the parents actually encourage their kids to write these?
It is very useful. It is useful. The word optional is misleading. It's as if you like, you can do it. If you like, you can't do it. But when it comes to decisions being taken on competitive places, they will always look at your background achievement. And your background achievement will include SATs and the way it's progressed from year to year. So you must not think that the name suggests optional, therefore you don't want to do it because you don't feel like doing it. Because your friends that felt like doing it will do it and can return a grade or return some marks. So it's quite useful for you to be able to work through that.
Very briefly, what about hay fever and allergy suffers? Now, how does it really lower grades in exams? Does it really lower any grades in exams?
It does. Regrettably, it does. 40% of those that have shown symptoms of hay fever will go